Assalamu alaikum students. I welcome you all to again one more lesson of English. So how are all the SM publicans doing? Are you all doing fine? And you're taking all the precautions and you are staying home and staying safe, okay? So good morning, grade 5 for another English language class, okay? All you children are like these colorful pencils for me, bright, glowing, and beautiful, okay? So what will we be doing today? Yes, the topics for today are verbs, forms of verbs, and auxiliary verbs. So, what is the meaning of all these words that I am using? Can you tell me what are verbs, forms of verbs, auxiliary verbs? Do you remember first of all what are verbs? Any idea? Hmm? Do you remember what is a verb? That is something we have been doing since we were young children. Come on, kids. What is a verb? A verb is an action word. Very good. A verb is an action word. Okay, a verb is a word which shows action. So let's see what is the definition of a verb. Read with me. A verb is a word of doing or action. So basically any word in a sentence that we are speaking or that we are reading, and that word is showing any action, any happening. So that is called the verb in the sentence, okay? It tells what is happening or has happened or will happen. So basically an action can be something that is actually happening right now, that is in the present, okay? That is happening at this moment, okay? Or it has happened. That means it is something that has happened in the past. Something that is not happening right now, but it happened some time back or some days back or some years back, but it is not of the present, it is of the past, okay? Any action that has happened in the past is also a verb. Or that will happen, that means that something has not happened until yet and it will happen after some time, or maybe tomorrow, or maybe after an year, but it will happen. That means it has not happened till now. An action that will happen in the future, or that is happening in the present, or that has happened in the past. All the actions are called verbs, okay? A sentence may only have a main verb like is, was, walk, eat, cook, play. So a sentence may have what? A main verb. Like for example, I can say Badr moves the chair. So has only one main verb, that means moves. Or Ali walks fast. So walk is my main verb. There is no other verb in the sentence. Or maybe Asma cooks the food. So cook is my main verb here. Okay. So all the sentences that I am telling here, they all have one main verb, which is telling the action that is being done by the noun or the pronoun. Okay. So other condition is, or it may consist of a main verb and an auxiliary. What is an auxiliary? A helper verb like has been, will be, shall, go. So basically now the verb here is, if you can see, go, but the shall is the auxiliary here because it is an helping verb. If I say he go there, that does not make sense, right? But if I say he shall go there, then the sentence makes sense. So basically a helping verb is added to the main verb to make sense from a sentence, to make a sentence sound sensible, to give more meaning to a sentence, okay? So what is an auxiliary verb? A helper verb, okay? So let's look at some examples here. Mark eats his dinner quickly. Now here, this red colored eats is the main verb in the sentence, okay? Because in this sentence, we don't need a helping verb. We don't need an auxiliary verb. So Mark eats his dinner quickly. This sentence makes complete sense on its own. I will go home after football practice. Now see here, the go is the main verb and will is my auxiliary. So this has an auxiliary verb and a main verb both, because if I say I go home after football practice, so my sentence will not make sensible. Okay, it will not sound sensible. It will not make any sense. So I would rather say I will go, because this will, when it is added to the go, it makes sense, okay, and it makes my sentence sensible, okay. Third one, we went to the market. Now again, I have only one verb here, and this is the main verb, and it is giving my sentence a complete sense, so I don't need an auxiliary here. I will say we went to the market, okay. You write neatly in your notebook. Now again, I have only one main verb, and that main verb is describing the action, so I don't need any other auxiliary verb. My action is completely described by this main verb, okay? Fifth one, I have purchased a new pair of shoes. Now here I need an auxiliary verb with my main verb to make my sentence complete. If I say I purchased a new pair of shoes, that does not make complete sense. So I would say I have purchased, okay? This makes sense. So, do you understand the difference between when we apply a main verb and when we add an auxiliary to the main verb? Okay. So, let's look at exercise number A on page number 16. Hurry up, open your books. Do you know which book we use? We use the Nelson Grammar book 5. Okay. Now, you all must be used to the book cover. So, I don't think I need to show it anymore in every lesson. You should be having your book every time you are sitting for an English language lesson, because we always do English language from our Nelson Grammar book 5. Okay. So hurry up, students, open up page number 16. We'll be doing exercise A. Let's read the question. Make a list of the verbs in the passage. So if you see in your book, there is a passage given, and from that passage, we have to make the list of all the verbs. Now remember, when you are making this list, that verbs are the action words, okay? All the actions that are happening will be counted as verbs, okay? So let's see. Now I'm reading it out. Read with me. In a gas explosion in Quetta, 8 houses were damaged. Now this were damaged is my main verb with an auxiliary verb. Okay, so were damaged and windows were shattered. Okay, now these are all the actions that are happening. So they all are verbs. Were shattered in houses across the road. One lady was asleep. Was is my auxiliary and asleep is my main verb. On the ground floor of her home when the explosion happened. Okay. Blowing the roof off and starting a fire in the cellar. It is believed that it was caused by the main which fractured. Police sealed off the road and several people were evacuated. Temporary repairs were made by the gas board officials. Okay, so when you look at this paragraph, you see all the ones that I have in red color are my verbs. Okay, so when you do it in your copy, either you can do it like this, that you can change the color of these verbs, or you can make a list of these verbs. But make sure you go through the lectures every time you're doing your copy work, because this makes your copy work easier. Okay, so I've given you a complete answer to the first exercise. So make sure you have understood all the words in red are the action words. Okay, they all are the verbs, and some of them have the auxiliary. Some of them are main verbs, like sealed here, sealed, happened, blowing, starting. These are all main verbs, and some of them also have the auxiliaries like was, were, is, and were, was, here, were. Okay, so these are all verbs plus auxiliary verbs. Okay, so let's move to exercise number B on page number 16. Okay, on the same page there is another exercise. Write this passage, use verbs from the to fill the space, its box. You will need to use some verbs more than once. Okay, so is played, was played, is the strung, has, weighs, dates, were, changed, stretches, covered. Now these are all the words that are given in the box. If you see on the left side of the passage, there is a box, and there in yellow color all these words are mentioned. And what you have to do is you have to put them accordingly so that this whole text makes sense. Okay, now some of the words might come twice. Okay, there is no necessity that one word can be used only once. One word can be used two times as well. Okay, so let's see. Tennis dash a very old game. So what should it be? Tennis is played, tennis was played, tennis is. What do you think the answer should be? Tennis is a very old game. Okay, so we'll put a is here because that is what should come here. Then read further. And dash by kings and nobles in France and England in the 15th century. So, and it was played, okay, and was played by kings and nobles. Okay, the modern game of lawn tennis dash back to 1873. So what will be the answer here? Dates back to 1873. Although the rules dash in later years. So although, what's going to come here? Although the rules were changed in later years, okay? The game dash by 2 or 4 players. The game is played, okay? Because it is also played right now. You can't say it was played, it is played, okay? The net dash across the middle. The net stretches across the middle of the court. The ball dash a hollow rubber ball. The ball is a hollow rubber ball dash with cloth, covered with cloth, okay, and dash about 2 ounces or 57 grams, and definitely it is the weight, so it weighs about 2 ounces or 57 grams. It has a diameter of about 2.5 inches or 6.4 centimeters. The racket has an oval frame and dash with gut or nylon, and is a strung with gut or nylon. Okay, so I've given you all the answers to exercise number B as well. So I hope it is all very clear to you people. Got it? So let's move on. Now the second topic that we have today is forms of verbs. Now what are the forms of verbs? There are basically 3 forms of verbs. Now what are those 3 forms of verbs? Let's see. Main verbs have 3 basic forms: the present form, the past form, and the past participle form. So basically when I use a verb with whatever verb I'm using, it has 3 basic forms. One is the one that I'm using in the present, one will be that I'll be using for the past, and one will be the past participle. So how do we change it? Let's have a look at this chart. So if I am using is or am in the present tense, then in the past tense it will change to was, and the past participle would be been. Say for example, Ali is eating his dinner. So this is in present because Ali is eating, okay? In the past tense it will become Ali was eating his dinner, and the past participle will be Ali has been eating his dinner, okay? So this is how it changes. The verb, the basic form of verb changes. Okay, let's look here. Who break the glass? Okay, so the break is the present form because I am asking right now, who break this glass? So if I'm asking in the past, who broke the glass yesterday? So this is my past, okay, past tense. And then if I'm asking in the past participle, who has broken this glass? Okay, so this is the past participle form. Let's see here. Now for cut, some words remain the same like cut, cut, cut. In all three forms, it will remain the same. I cut an apple. If I cut it today, I'll say I cut an apple. If I cut it yesterday, I will still say I cut an apple yesterday, I cut an apple today, or I have cut an apple. So it will remain cut. It will not change. Okay. So some words do not change. So it's good to memorize these forms because every time it's difficult to think about them. Some of them are quite easy that you have been using, but some of them are new to you. So if you see something new that comes across your eyes, always make sure you memorize it because that becomes easier. Okay. Like for example, eat, ate, eaten. This is we have been doing like I eat an apple, I ate an apple, and I have eaten an apple. So this is how it changes the form. Fall, fell, fallen. And similarly, drink, drank, drunk. So if you go through all of these, there are many, many more. Like say for instance, if I ask you fight. So the first form of the present form is fight. What will be the past form? Do you know the past form? It's not mentioned here. Think in your mind. The first form, if I'm saying is fight, the present, then what will be the past form? Fight will turn into fought. Okay. He has a fight today, right? The past form will be he fought with his friend yesterday. Okay. And the past participle would be he had fought day before yesterday. So this is how the form changes. Okay. Now, if I ask you catch, will you catch the ball or who catch the ball? Then the past tense will be who caught the ball, and the past participle will be who had caught the ball. Okay. So in this way, there will be a whole list, inshallah, when you will be coming to school. I'll be giving you a list to paste it in your copies, and it will have many more than these, and then it will be easier for you to understand the three forms, that is the present tense form, the past tense form, and the past participle form. Okay. So let's move on. Now, what are auxiliary verbs? This is the third topic for today, but I have given you an idea of the auxiliary verbs when I was telling you about the verb. Okay. So still, let's read it. An auxiliary verb helps the main verb to describe an action. Okay. That action happened in the past, or is happening in the present, or will happen in the future. Okay. So these are some of the auxiliaries that we commonly use with the main verb to make it more sensible. Now, this is am. So I am doing my work. So this is my auxiliary with the main verb. Okay. And if I look here, he had he had he had been running in a match. So running is my main verb and had is my auxiliary here. Okay. Or I shall go to Lahore. So go is my main verb and shall is my auxiliary. Okay. So similarly, all these words are used as auxiliaries, and they somewhere or the other support the main verb to make it more sensible. Okay. So let's look at this more further examples. Do, be, and have. These are actually three main types of auxiliaries that we commonly use. Do is used to form negative and interrogatives of verbs. Okay, interrogative is the question form. How? Let's see as this example. Do you understand? So do is my auxiliary. Okay, and I am making an interrogative form with this. He didn't arrive on time. So didn't is derived from do, and this is actually telling the negative form. Okay. Now look at be. Be is used to form different tenses. Example, I am writing, I was writing, I will be writing. Okay. So be is used to form different types of tenses. What are the tenses? Past, present, and future. Okay. Have. Have is used to form different tenses. So basically have and be, they more or less do the same work. For example, he has eaten an apple, he had eaten an apple, and he would have eaten an apple. Okay. So what is it doing? It is telling the three different tenses. One is present, one is past, and one is future. Okay. So do you all understand what are the auxiliaries? Okay, let's look at this exercise on page number 17. Open up page number 17, exercise A. Write this passage underlining the auxiliary verbs. Okay, so what are the auxiliary verbs here? Let's see. There have been several bad fires in the town center this week. The fire brigade has been called. So, the fire brigade has been called out several times and the police are investigating the matter. They believe someone is deliberately starting the fires. Ahmad Mushtaq is talking to his neighbors about the fire. Did you see that big fire in the supermarket this morning? He asked. Yes, said Feroz. It has caused a lot of damage and several people were injured in it. The police are looking into the matter and I hope they watch whoever is doing it. Don't worry, said Mushtaq. The police are following up all the clues and they will catch the culprit before the week is out. So basically, you see all the words here that are underlined are the auxiliaries. Now, how are the auxiliaries? Let me explain you. Say, for instance, if I look at this, the fire brigade has been called out. So called out here is my been called out is my action. So has is added before it to make it that is an auxiliary. Okay. Now someone is deliberately. So deliberately is my main verb here and is actually the helping verb. Is talking. Talking is my main verb and is my auxiliary. Okay, are investigating, so are is my auxiliary here. Okay, has caused, caused is my main verb and has is an auxiliary here. Okay, similarly were injured, so injured is a main verb, it's an action, so were is the auxiliary. Are looking, looking is an action, so are is my auxiliary here. Similarly, if you do look at here, is doing. So doing is my verb and is my auxiliary. Are following. Following is the main verb and are is the auxiliary. Okay. Will catch. So catch is a verb and will is my auxiliary here. Before the week is out. So is again my auxiliary here. Okay. Now an auxiliary can also come without a verb. Sometimes it's not always must that an auxiliary will come with the verb. It can also come separately. Okay. Like here is. This is coming separately. Okay. If you see here, this is coming out here separately. Okay. Again here someone is deliberately. So is standing separately. Okay, so let's see what's next. Okay, exercise B, page number 17. Write these sentences filling each blank with an auxiliary verb. So you have to put an auxiliary verb here. Let's see. Akbar dash not like tea, he prefers coffee. So does is my auxiliary here. Okay, have you finished the work you were doing? So have is my auxiliary here. Okay, mother is hanging the clothes on the line. So is this my auxiliary because it has a verb with it, hanging, that is being helped by the is. The weather forecast says there will be storms this evening. So will is my auxiliary. The phone rang 3 times, but Zaki did not answer it. So did here is the auxiliary. Did you meet Fatma when you were shopping in the town this morning? So did is my auxiliary here and were. There are two auxiliaries in this sentence. The accident was reported on the news, but the police had already informed me earlier that day. So was is my auxiliary here and had is my auxiliary here. Okay. So is this exercise clear to all of you? And remember, an auxiliary is a helping verb. It can be used individually, but mostly it is used along with the verb to make the sentence more sensible. Okay. And the common auxiliaries are do, be, and have. Okay. So I hope the lesson is clear to you, and I hope you have got a clear idea of verbs, forms of verbs, and auxiliary verbs. Okay, if there is anything that you did not understand, go through the lecture again, read what is written in the explanation, and you will understand. Okay, and if there is any question, you can always ask me in the Google Classroom comments box. Okay, So stay home, stay safe, stay healthy, keep studying hard, and take care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.